It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans, and I am your host this morning. Glad to have you on board with us. If you're catching us live, you're joining us in our third of four segments this morning. We covered this morning the Bundy Range War update and the Dirty Harry secret. By the way, he's only, there are a lot of other issues out there just like this. In fact, I posted an article up about the Hagee Ranch, and they've been fighting this same battle for 22 years in court. And in this case, by the way, the BLM keeps touting that they have the court orders and so forth and so on against Bundy, and that he's got, the courts have supported them, and he's violating the rule of law and the law of the land and blah, blah, blah. Guess what? Hagee's won multiple lawsuits against the federal government, and they won't pay him. $4 million they won't pay him. And you know what the judge assessed Hagee before he died in 1996? I'm sorry, 2006. They assessed him for violation of allowing his cattle to go on the federal BLM land, $165.88. So where the BLM gets $1.1 million, I don't know. But Hagee's have won a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the federal government, and they won't pay. So who's violating the court order now? You see, they want to throw the word rule of law out when it benefits them. It's the same crap we hear about Obamacare. Well, it's the rule of the law of the land. No, not when you change it, not when you violate it, not when it's the law that Congress passed and only half of Congress passed. You can sit there and tell me that you've passed a billion laws. But you know what? Stalin made it legal to kill Russian citizens. Hitler made it legal to kill Jews. That doesn't make it right. It makes it tyranny. Any law that is violative of the Constitution is null and void on its face. That's not my wording. That's Thomas Jefferson. That's James Madison. I'll take their word over Chuck Schumer, John Boehner, John McCain, Nancy Pelosi, any day of the week. Barack Obama, Eric Holder, the entire lot of traitorous liars. All right, we're going to talk about Missouri and a bunch of legislation that's going on there. This is the Second Amendment Preservation Act. It's passed the House 110 to 41. Second time it's passed now. The governor vetoed it the first time. So they made some changes to it to meet the concerns the governor had expressed, one of which may have had some legitimacy. The other one was a pure lie play. The problem is that the Senate bill and the House bill don't, perfectly merge. And there has to be and they've watered it down a little bit. I understand their argument for watering it down. I'm not even going to necessarily argue with it. What we want is the Second Amendment Preservation Act passed. The part that they watered down was a clause that said any federal agent who took part and abused their authority within the boundaries of the state of Missouri was guilty of a criminal misdemeanor, and they removed that language. Originally, it was a felony. Then they knocked it down to a misdemeanor. Now they knocked it down to he's got civil liability. What can I tell you? Traitors everywhere. You know what? If I kick in your door and I walk in and take your stuff, I don't have civil liability. I have first and foremost criminal liability. And you have the right to shoot me in the face. there is a witness form if you're a Missouri resident for you to fill out. Now, I've asked you before, and I'm going to ask you again. If you're a Missouri resident, you go to mofirst.org. M-O, the abbreviations for Missouri, first, F-I-R-S-T.org. Ron Calzone, who runs that website, has put together an outstanding program. And here's what it is. He has created a legislative database that allows you to put your, and it prompts you to put your comments down so that they can actually be put physically into the record, so that no one can deny what you actually had to say about a piece of legislation. It's called the witness form, and it is legitimately accepted as a part of the congressional record, or the state congressional record, on a given bill. So you can register your support or your displeasure or dislike of a given bill. And this particular system that he's put together is ingenious. If you live in Missouri, you need to be participating with Missouri or mofirst.org, and make sure that you fill out a witness form, because it keeps them forever, part of the record, but it also keeps them on the database. And if the bill comes back up for a second hearing, it kicks a reminder to you that says, hey, we need your comment again. Either update it or resubmit it or whatever the case may be. And it prompts you when there's other issues come up to say, hey, we need a witness form on this. There's a hearing on Tuesday, and we need your support to back it up. Nothing is more impressive than a state representative who walks into a hearing and has got 287 or 550 pieces of paper in his hand and says, this is what my constituents have told me they want me to do, and that's how I'm voting. There is a witness form for this particular Second Amendment Preservation Act to be submitted. And they're asking for your help. They want to court-proof this SAPA, as they call it, Second Amendment Preservation Act, SAPA. It says the one thing to know about the future of the Missouri Second Amendment Preservation Act is that anti-gun zealots will pursue every legal vulnerability they can find. One of the most important strategies for our success is to minimize vulnerability. To that end, HB, that's House Bill 1439, broke the original SAPA language into distinct sections, a move that will make the bill even more clearly severable than before. This means that if a court throws out part of the bill, the remaining parts survive. HB 1439 also includes redundant language with just enough subtle differences to ensure survivability if one of the other sections gets knocked out by a court, which would be operating unconstitutionally, because your Second Amendment says there is no court that can change the law. Remember, any law that's passed that is violative of your Bill of Rights, delineated God-given and natural man rights, is null and void on its face. Those aren't my words. Those are words of Jefferson. All right. What I want you to do is go to mofirst.org and read, because this thing is 5 pages, and I can't read you the whole thing. I don't have the time for that, and still hit these other bills. But go over to mofirst.org and sign up for witness forms and start using them every single piece of legislation. They're critical to our being able to say, hey, you know what? We did everything your way. You still betrayed us. Now we're going to hang you all. There's a message from Ike Skelton from the Missourians Against Agenda 21. And one of the places where you can find out about this is by going to the Missouri Precinct Project. That's called MOP, M-O-P-P. And this is in reference to the Missourians Against Agenda 21. And what we're asking here is that people call Representative Jeannie Riddle. She's the chairman of the Rules Committee, and she's withholding this bill from hitting the floor. You know, this is what happens. They sit up there and they take possession and control of a bill, and they bar it from being able to be heard because they block it from getting to the floor, right? And only with massive public contact do they change their minds. So here's her name. Her name is Jeannie Riddle, and she's the chairman of the Rules Committee. This is HB 1647, House Bill 1647. It's the Anti-Agenda 21 bill, and we need to get it out of the Rules Committee and out onto the floor for a debate and a vote. Her phone number is 573-751-5226. That's 573-751-5226. Her email address is jeannie.riddle, and I'm going to spell Jeannie for you, jeannie.riddle@house.mo.gov. And for the record, you can contact any representative or senator via this system. It's their first name, then a period, and then their last name, at house.mo.gov or senate.mo.gov. Either way. Her name is spelled Jeannie, Jeanie. That's Jeanie dot, or period, Riddle, 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 at house.mo.gov. The bill that we're talking about here is House Bill 1647. Now, I'm going to give you her phone number again in case you only caught part of it. 573-751-5226. That's 573-751-5226. Now, here's the deal. You can go and look, and all you got to do, by the way, folks, is type in MO, go into a browser, and here's the way I look at these bills when they come up and I get, alerts. And I get a million pieces of email, everybody telling me, go look at this bill, go look at that bill. Type in MO, and then HB 1647 into any browser. Google, Firefox, makes no difference. And make sure that you read this bill and read the text of it and understand it so you know what it says. Then you can articulate your concerns. Remember, you're not one of the teeming masses that accepts someone else's opinion for your own and parrots it. You are different. You are a critical thinker, and you look and evaluate. Then you paraphrase into your own opinion, your own words, what you want to say. Don't ever fill out a form letter and let somebody send that to you on their behalf. It's ridiculous. You know why? First of all, your legislator gets that and he throws it right in the garbage because he knows it's a form letter. But when it comes in your own words, and check your spelling, and check your grammar, you don't want to come across as, and I know for a fact, I see it every day. I see comments and emails from people, and I look at them, and it's horrific. I know some people do it on a mobile phone, but even on a mobile phone, when I send a text or a message, I check my spelling. You know why? Because I have self-esteem and self-respect, and I don't want anybody to think just I'm some stupid dolt. So go in there and check your grammar and check your spelling. Have some self-respect. And have some respect for me or your legislator or whoever you're talking to. I don't care if it's your mother. Spell it right. If you can't spell, use a spell checker. I know that sounds harsh to you, and I get, you're too mean to people. No, I'm not mean. You're an adult. You ought to know how to spell. And if you don't, there's ways around it. But don't show ignorance because you spell something incorrectly or you run a bunch of words together and you don't read and proof what you're going to send. Be responsible. It's called self-governance, self-responsibility, self-reliance. We're going to call this Jeannie Riddle, the chairman of the Rules Committee, and we're going to ask her to put HB 1647, the Anti-Agenda 21 bill, and get it out of the Rules Committee so that it can hit the floor and actually be voted upon. Or at least debated. There's another one here, and that's the House bill. That's House Bill 1490, and this is from. I'm sorry, I apologize. Let me scrap that one. This is another or an alternative Common Core Bill 1490. Now, for the record, there's an anti-Common Core bill out there, too. And there were a bunch of teachers on Glenn Beck the other day. Go to MissouriEducationWatchdog.com. And I don't care if you live in Missouri or not, this is an invaluable tool for you to fight Common Core in your own backyard. MissouriEducationWatchdog.com. Missouri teachers on Glenn Beck. There was a group of 3 teachers from the Sikeston, Missouri area that were on the Glenn Beck program. And they were talking about how hostile the work environment is for them, where they are being threatened with their jobs if they even speak about Common Core. Ladies and gentlemen, if we're going to sit there and hold our teachers hostage in order to pass Common Core and get you as a parent to accept it, what I want to say, I can't even say. All right. The point is simply this. Go to MissouriEducationWatchdog.com and type in Missouri Teachers Glenn Beck, and you'll find that article. All right. There's 2 other bills I wanted to tell you about. HCR 41. That's HCR is a resolution. The R stands for resolution. B stands for bill. So if you see SB, that's Senate bill. HB, that's House bill. HCR is a resolution. Sometimes it's HJR, which is a House joint resolution. HCR, I believe, is House committee resolution. The upshot is a resolution is important because what it does is it makes a statement that this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to move forward. And this particular one is on Article 5. All right? So it's been sponsored by Mike Moon, and we're trying to get it to the point where Missouri is joining and made the commitment to the Article 5 constitutional amendments program that will enable us to basically say again that we've done everything short of violence to restrain this federal government. And if all of that fails, ladies and gentlemen, then no one can point a finger at us and say, you didn't try hard enough. I don't know whether the Article 5 amendments will actually work. I know that there's a lot of people out there that are concerned that it can turn around and bite us back because we opened the door up for the Constitution to be modified in a way that we didn't anticipate or didn't want through an unintentional consequence or the influence of some scumbag like George Soros who's been buying up and spending millions upon millions of dollars promoting these organizations who portray themselves as conservative. What I can tell you is this. We have an obligation and a duty to do everything in our power to try to regain and put some restorative power back into the hands of the people. And we can do that at the ballot box, which I agree with you is a lost cause. We can try to do that through Article 5 amendments. We can try to do that through protesting, all of which, quite frankly, I believe are lost causes. I understand people say to me, well, how can you say that? You give us no hope. No, I'm a realist. I don't think it's going to matter, but I'm going to try. And you should too. Because at the end of the day, I want to be able to stand here and say, I did everything in my power within the boundaries of what I know to be just and right, lawful, judicial. I begged and pleaded. I voted. I protested. I worked to pass legislation. We tried to amend the Constitution to rein in tyranny and treason. You blocked us at every step. We did everything so that when we file a secondary Declaration of Independence, and it comes down to we have to take the law into our own hands at some point in the future and take our nation back by force, because I believe that's what it's going to come to, then we are justified in doing so, because we can stand here and righteously, with our heads held high, proudly say we did everything. We suffered unlimited, untold abuse in an effort to try to do it their way. All of it resulted in having exhausted every possible avenue to do it in a peaceful format. HCR 41. They're holding it up because, well, they don't want it out there. And so House Resolution, or HCR 41, is on the Article 5 amendment. I want you to contact your House representative and your state senators. And I want you to be telling them, we're not asking you to pass Article 5. We're telling you. Now, I want you to do it politely. We never want to have to be, we don't have to be violent about it. We don't have to be abusive about it. But we do have to make the point very clear. We're not asking you. We're telling you. You work for me. The best way, by the way, to do that is in writing and with a phone call. Do it in writing and follow up with a phone call. Yes, you're going to talk to some lackey who's going to try to blow you off. It's okay. Make your point and hang up the phone. All they're sitting there doing is checking off boxes on a pad. How many people called, and what did they call about? The next bill is House Bill 1976, and this is to make all red light cameras illegal in the state of Missouri. Now, these are these red light cameras where these congressional people who are supporting this bill or supporting the scamera idea are on the payroll, basically, of the company that makes the money on these cameras. This is, these red light cameras and all of that crap. House Bill 1976. You want to support that bill because it blocks that scamera from ever being instituted in the state of Missouri. And then one other piece of legislation, and I don't have this number right in front of me, but one other piece of legislation that we want to fight here is, by the way, Jeannie Riddle can be called about that scamera issue as well. We want to pull out of Morpho Trust, and we want all contracts in the state of Missouri terminated that are involved in Morpho Trust. Doreen Hannes has talked extensively about this, Bob Parker, and a bunch of other folks. We want to end any contractual agreement with Morpho Trust. You want to put sand in the gears of these scumbag tyrant traders? That's how you do it, ladies and gentlemen. You make this state cancel that contract, and then they have no way to force us to put our names and our facial recognition and our biometrics into a database that's held by a third party in a third country and distributed to other third-party countries and given to DHS to create a database on you. We want the contract with Morpho Trust terminated. We want driver's licenses issued right across the counter like they did before the contract with Morpho Trust, which they presume and tell us doesn't exist. They're liars. All right, we're going to take a break because I'm running out of time here. When we come back, we're going to tackle our final topic this morning, and that is the EPA concedes that under the Clean Water Act and the grand theft of all of Americans' real estate and property, they don't really have any data to support it. And they're conceding it in writing. Man, I'm telling you, there's so much flippin' tyranny going on around here, America. I don't know how you can tolerate it. Man, it's just unbelievable. Mountains of it. Everything that you see, everything you hear is a lie designed to mislead you and guarantee your demise. We'll be back in just a minute.